Behemoth. This is a 2011 TV movie made for the Sci-Fi Channel, and it's actually more of a disaster movie rather than a kind of giant monster slash kaiju flick. So what the story is here, this mountain area, extinct volcano somewhere within America, and basically there's a variety of geographical disturbances and kind of a lot of the sort of scientific community think maybe the kind of a volcano is sort of becoming active again, and lots of studies and things like that, and kind of anomalies that they can't really explain. Of course, we know that it's a giant monster sort of hiding beneath the earth, but that won't show up until 15 minutes towards the end. But basically, the kind of bulk of the story here is this kind of group of, I guess, family that kind of get roped in with these sort of scientists, end up sort of having to sort of save themselves to try and discover what's going on, and ultimately try and defeat the menace that is this giant kind of monster that's kind of living under the earth. It's a very, very simple premise. They kind of meet up with a few sort of peripheral characters along the way. You know, that's essentially it. It's a very, very simple story. Now, what's good about this movie? Okay, I didn't think the acting was too bad. I actually thought it was did a reasonable job here. Sometimes the acting on these kind of TV movies is quite horrible. There's no real big name stars in this movie, but I actually think the actors that did have it didn't actually a pretty decent performance considering. Now, the actual monster itself, unfortunately, you don't really see it in its entirety until literally 15 minutes towards the end of the movie. You might see the odd sort of tentacle there and the end of an eye here, but even that won't show up until about halfway through the film. The majority of the danger here isn't actually the monster, it's actually the kind of just natural disaster events that it causes, like sort of falling buildings and falling trees and stuff like that. And it has this, so we're told that it has this sort of CO2 emissions that's sort of coming out of the ground that seem to really just serve the plot in certain scenes, because other times it doesn't seem to be there when people are on the ground. But there you go. So now the actual monster itself, when we do see it, I actually think it looks pretty good. It kind of is very Lovecraftian in its kind of design, and we're kind of giving a little bit of backstory to what it may be. We're told by one of the characters, played by William B. Davis, that essentially this is the kind of the end of the world that the kind of the Mayans feared and things like that. So, but the majority of the time, all you'll kind of see is a kind of like a tentacle and things like that. And I have to say, the CGI is a mixed bag, because when you do see the kind of the monster in its entirety, I didn't think it actually looks too bad. I mean, even the CGI looked relatively convincing, but when you kind of see like a tentacle just sort of splashing on the ground, that looks a bit crappy. The problem is here is the actual movie is just very slow, because, as I say, the plot is very, very simplistic, and the majority of the times the danger is just people sort of getting stuck in a hole, and there's like the whole backstory with kind of William B. Davis, kind of crazy professor, being trapped in this diner with this young girl that really has very little to do with the actual main plot. So, unfortunately, it comes across as a little bit dull at times. Like I said, the monster doesn't really show itself until sort of 15 minutes towards the end. So, although it had some saving grace, it doesn't make it a complete, train wreck of a film. It comes across as it's a little tedious, I have to say. So, I'm going to give this movie a 4.5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think? Leave me a comment, and I will look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.